Hello, Blue Dot. Welcome to the Notes tent. I'm Sarah. This is Georgia.
Hi.
We're here today to do a first play of her new record, which is due out on the 28th, Euphoric. We are a week away from it, but I think we're going to be hearing some of it live tonight as well on stage from 6 o'clock, I think you're on.
That's it.
I guess first, just to kind of set it in a bit of context, I mean, I know the record before this, you talked a lot about the kind of personal journey you went on before you were writing that record and the lifestyle changes you'd made and the things you'd gone through. What was kind of what's fed into this album this time?
I think I just wanted to go and make a piece of music that was a bit out of my control. I don't know if that makes sense. I just wanted to have a completely different experience making this new record. And I the previous 2 records that I've done have been in fairly similar way, in the back of my garden in this studio, and then taking it to Mark Ralph and very much it being a London-centric kind of records. And for this one, I didn't want that. I wanted to kind of go and experience maybe living somewhere else and seeing how that would affect the songwriting and production. I also really fancied working with somebody else from the beginning. I guess, I went on a massive personal journey with all of them, I think. I write quite emotive songs. So there's always some sort of personal journey. I think this time round it was a sort of letting go of control and just having a sort of open mind about creativity and collaboration and seeing how that would sort of affect my personal life.
So tell me a bit about where did you kind of end up recording and the team that you work with then on this?
So actually, before Seeking Thrills ever came out, which was 2020, in 2019, I did a song with Muramasa called Live Like We're Dancing. And through doing that song, a very talented musician called Rostam heard the demo and he messaged me on Instagram just saying, I hope you don't mind me reaching out, but I really love your voice on Live Like We're Dancing. And I was totally ecstatic because I was a complete sort of fangirl of his. He produced the Haim record, the last Haim record, the Clyro record, Immunity, Frank Ocean, Solange. And also he was in Vampire Weekend and he produced the first 3 Vampire Weekend records, which, so I was like, wow, this is it. This feels like this could be it. So I messaged him and then, so that was like March 2019. And then in late 2019, I think it was around October, November, we were out there playing a first show in LA. And I had a couple of days to spare. So I messaged Rostam saying, oh, I'm here. Can we make some music? And he was like, sure, come over. And on that first meeting, having not spent any time together or anything, we wrote the first single, it's Euphoric. So everything you hear on that song, we wrote in about an hour. Wow. So it was like something just felt completely, natural and exciting. And so even before Seeking Thrills came out, I kind of had the idea to take the music in a new direction with Rostam.
So the record actually, the whole record in terms of writing it actually started with the opening track on this album. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
That's why we put it as the opening track, because we even had the name Euphoric before we'd even considered writing a record. So I guess the seeds were already sown and it was just all really meant to be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we should probably press play then on that note,
Yeah.
on the first track. So what we're going to do is we'll play each track and we'll hear kind of the first kind of little section of it.
Cool.
And then I'll just knock it down and we'll talk a little bit about stories about those songs and any memories you've got from recording and maybe a bit about the live shows coming up too. We'll talk about the tour at the end as well. Let's go.
It's euphoric when you're standing next to me. It's euphoric when you're standing next to me. It's euphoric when you're standing next to me. It's euphoric whenever you're next to me. Down in Regent's Park, sweet stole my heart. I wasn't saying much, it was on the tip of my tongue. You don't.
So you've mentioned the title that you kind of had. Where else does the song start from you? Is it with the beats? Is it with words? Like, where does it begin?
Well, with this song, it started with the piano chords. So I had the chords of dun 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 dun, and then Rostam, and then I was sat at the piano thinking and singing, and he was encouraging me, and I sort of went, da, 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 da. And he was like, okay, keep that. And then he was like, it'd be cool if the chords went on the bass. So then he picked up the bass, and he was like, boom, boom, boom. And then that kind of gave us the idea for it to be this kind of quite cool, simplistic, almost hip-hoppy, Genius of Love kind of tune. And so with that one, it was with all these songs, it was actually starts with the piano, chords.
Was that new for you to start that way?
Really new, because usually I'm just totally obsessed about production, and I want to take this record into sounding like Chicago house, and then the music will sort of form. I'll have the idea for the vocal in the back, but I won't necessarily be concerned that much about form or structure. But this album, I really wanted the songs. I mean, I almost wanted to be able to perform them acoustically on a piano. So, so they were really, it was very, I mean, Rostam's very song-based. Before the production, he's like, no, we got to get the song. I mean, maybe the Americans are a bit more like that. Us British, we're just sort of, get in there, see what happens. They're a bit more, let's get the song. Yeah.
I mean, people will obviously know you as, for your beats, as a drummer. I mean, it's amazing to watch you perform this on stage, but like, does it ever start there with you? Does it sometimes originate with a simple beat, or like what?
Yeah, totally. Or what's different about this new record as well is that it's all live drum kit, and it's all me playing. The previous albums, I just haven't had space in my studio to record live drums, so that was also very exciting. And Rostam's a bit of a genius when he records drums. He wouldn't like me telling you all.
What, calling him a genius?
Well, no, he would love that. But revealing his secrets. I know his secrets. I feel very powerful with them. But all these drums are recorded with one microphone.
Wow. Impressive stuff.
So when you get into a studio and people are like, I've got to put that microphone on there, and that one there, and that one there.
We're going to come into track 2 now, which is Give It Up for Love. I feel like this has got a slightly different vibe. I feel like there's maybe a little bit of Madonna channeling through this one, but let's start this one off, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
If not for us, I would keep on trying to leave. Better off, but I'm hardly wanting to deceive. Trying to knock me once, but I felt my heart beneath my soul.
I think this is one of the sweetest choruses actually on the record. I think it's really pretty. But I love the way
you.
that guitar kicks in there too.
Yeah, that's Rostam. Yeah.
What can you tell me about this one? Is there kind of anything special that springs to mind when you think about this song?
Well, this song was actually one of the first sort of songs I wrote after Seeking Thrills came out, and I was kind of very excited that I'd sort of found maybe the formula of the next record. And this was actually one of the only songs that I took to Rostam, which was pretty much done, completed. Well, the song was completed from the get-go. And I think, you know, it just allowed Rostam to be like, let's take the production there and there. But it was very much like, oh, I'll tell you quite a special story about this song. I was really influenced by William Orbit throughout the whole making of this record. Sort of the very, you know, like Ray of Light, Madonna, and
So maybe that's what I'm hearing.
When you say Madonna, maybe that's what you hear. I just felt like I was ripping him off so much that I asked my record label whether we could send it to him and just maybe have a conversation with him. And so they did. They sent it to William, and William then called me, and we had this like 3-4 hour phone call about about life. Actually, it was sort of everything really, and I found it incredibly inspiring. And then I said, why don't you take the stems and see if you can add a bit of your sparkle and magic to them? So on this record, there's William Orbit. So,
okay.
Yeah, which was it was a kind of real special moment. Yeah.
There's an amazing bit of sort of funk bass that kicks in that we've missed actually when it's been turned down, but it sort of kicks in about part way through, which is like, I guess, you know, even 2 tracks in, we're starting to feel all the different sort of musical influences that are actually coming into, well, I mean, the way you write generally, but you can really hear those coming through, and even early on in this record.
Oh, yeah, I think that's why we wanted to put it so high up in the track listing, because it kind of sets this tone for a slightly different sort of adventure. And it's you know, I think for me also there's a bit of a nod to the 90s, kind of what I grew up with, seeing as I couldn't escape it with my dad being in left field. So that was no pressure. Release the pressure. No pun intended. So it's a little bit of a sort of 90s nod.
Yeah, I mean, we changed pace already as we come into 3, so let's play this. This is Some Things You'll Never
This
Know.
is the next single, actually.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Last night you said to me, go on, let yourself finally be free. It's never that easy. I'm trapped in the walls of my anxiety. Oh, I wanna know what you think about us. I wanna know if our future star-crossed. You said some things you'll never know. Some things you'll never know. You'll never know. Don't wanna push
Huge pop song.
Well, at first I wanted it to be a bit like Orbital. I was really listening to a lot of Orbital making this record. And I thought, oh yeah, we should bring the acid lines back into pop music. But then Rostam was a bit like, he wasn't a big fan of the acid lines. I'm yet to convince him about acid. It'll be all the sound of the summer 2024. Whatever.
So why did you choose this as the first thing? This has got a lovely bit of funk in it too, I think, that's coming in shortly. But why did this kind of stand out as the first single?
No, this is the next single. This is actually the last
next one,
single.
okay.
Yeah. I think
Euphoric was the first you said.
yeah. I think that this one is just a bit of a like nod to Seeking Thrills as well. It's like dance pop.
Okay.
We felt that it just has this kind of like cool message to it. It's fun, optimistic, and it's a bit kind of disco-y. And yeah, I think it's just I think it just sounds like a single.
You mentioned kind of earlier about where you kind of go to for words and how often they're very personal. Are you like a bit of a diarist, a bit of a journalist? Like where do you go to for inspiration for the words to these, for your lyrics?
Yeah, I wish I journaled. My therapist says that all the time. Wish you journaled, Georgia. I think songwriting is, without sounding too cheesy and corny, I think it is my way of journaling in a way. This song was about kind of coming out of lockdown and us all having this kind of pent-up anxiety, which I think a lot of us have about, suddenly entering the world again, sort of, socializing, partying, what's it all mean? And I suppose, it was my way of sort of expressing my own kind of, because there's a line in it that says, I'm trapped in the walls of my anxiety. I actually felt that, coming out of lockdown, I was a bit like, oh gosh, do I know how to yeah.
Should we move on to track 4? This is Mountain Song.
We've got to learn this song next. My band are here.
Okay. Hi.
There's an image of a mountain in your eyes. I can't deny it's pulling me inside. If I could paint it from my mind, I would try to, and it would remind you. Tears can fall, and no worries get me down. I've got all I
Kind of
need.
don't want to turn it down too early because we're just sort of heading into this big explosion.
Then I feel your arms around my body, and I feel so safe. So I send my dreams together. I want to find you next to me. Permission into life from you. Wanna jump into the ocean with you. Permission into life from you.
I can almost visualize the crowds actually watching this already. I feel like this is going to be one worth learning. Like this is
Yeah.
going to be a big one, I think.
Oh,
On stage.
thank you, Sarah. Well, I mean, I do really love this song, and I sort of had this image because a lot of the record, I didn't want to finish writing before I got to Los Angeles. I wrote the whole recording process was done in Los Angeles over a 2-month period with Rostam. But prior to that, I did work in my studio trying to gather ideas, gather sort of some sort of songs that I wanted to take, and this was one of them. But making those little ideas, I had this image of a mountain, and I guess it was my way of. I don't know, just getting out of London in my mind. I felt like, I know this is going to sound a bit depressing, but it's not. I love London. I'm from London. Would never leave London. But I felt a bit uninspired there, and my imagination sort of fell a little bit, and I wanted to. I think that's why I was imagining a mountain and being at the top of the climb that you take to a mountain, and then getting to the top of it and all of that. And then I think that's why I wanted to sort of get out of London, really, to make this record.
Just like a new setting to sort of open up a
exactly
new area in your mind. I guess.
Yeah. And then we wrote a song. Yeah, and then I wrote the song Mountain Song. So yeah.
So do you think that move kind of brought? I mean, obviously you were working with a new producer, but do you think it did bring kind of new ideas musically and lyrically to you to making that move? Do you think you would do that again on record?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. Me and Rostam, I mean, I would have gone anywhere to have worked with him, I think. It just so happened he was in LA, but what we kind of shared together and went through and all the journey, 'cause it's such a journey making a record, you know, it really is. Like, you know, when I look back on it, it really was 3 years of, you know, a complete journey. When we went from LA to mixing the record with Dave Fridman. For those of you who might not know Dave Fridman, he was in a band called Mercury Rev and he was the sort of producer. And then he went on to mix Flaming Lips. He went on to produce the MGMT record. He mixed the first Tame Impala records. Works with Mogwai. He's just an absolute incredible guy. And so we went from LA to Buffalo, which was like upstate New York, almost like, you know, near Canada. So I really went on this kind of adventure, really, which I'm really just so pleased about. And that was through taking a bit of a risk and going, do you know what, like, you know, I'm just going to change things up a bit. I'm very like bad at change, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bad. But I think I have to remember that this record was an example of positive change.
Yeah, maybe it'll kind of open you up to the idea a bit more in the future.
Yeah.
We're already amazingly at the halfway point, so let's play track 5, which is All Night. I'll just turn this up.
Is it keeping you awake at night? This feeling like we're running out of time. Lying on my bed tonight, wishing I was dancing in a crowd. The sun is coming up again. The music and our dreams are all we need. I can hear them speak to me, telling me to stay. Nothing on the line. Said what we miss if we didn't try.
Love those icy synths you've got going on there. Yeah. There's a little like piano bit in there that I think I've been trying to think what it reminds me of all day, and I think it's like. I think it might be like "Don't Go Breaking My Heart" or something. I can't think what it is. I've just like been trying to think about it all morning.
Really?
But I can't
what the melody?
Do that bit.
Yeah, do. Yeah, I sort of wrote it with a kind of Hall and Oates sort of idea. Like what, you know, that kind of 70s yacht rock. Vibe. I mean, that's a disservice to call it yacht rock because Hall and Oates just. Amazing. So it was, so maybe there is a bit. Don't go breaking. Yeah, a bit of Elton.
Tell me about All Night. I mean, this again, we're kind of still in that like intense pop area here, like dance pop area.
Yeah.
But like this feels like another big party tune too.
Yeah, the whole record me and Rostam were listening to Daft Punk's Discovery.
Okay.
So. You know, a lot of the production in here is kind of influenced by that sort of era of dance music, and a great part of this was was Rostam. He wrote the do 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 do, which I think really makes it. And we got Dave to like just make this sound as, you know, crazy as possible. So Dave kind of did his whole mixing thing. There's like a sub bass underneath this, but I think you have to have special sub bass I'm not sure, or you have to dial in the sub bass.
okay.
But that's always a pleasant experience.
Yeah, that sounds like a classic little producer secret, a little
Yeah.
hiding back.
That's my dad's influence.
Okay.
When I was younger, I used to go to all the early left field shows.
Okay.
I was a baby, and they just plant me on subwoofers.
Okay.
You know, the days of like ear protections, you know, nah. If a baby was seen with ear protections on, they'd be like, pussy. So
They literally rattled a love of beats into your bones.
literally rattled till
There was no escaping it then,
no
was
escaping.
there? You were never going to be writing country songs with that in your core,
I
were you?
know. God damn it. Dance music, eh?
The next one we've got is Live Like We're Dancing.
Yeah, so this is a part 2. So this we thought was a nice little story just because Rostam, it's how I met Rostam through the Muramasa track. So we thought, oh, let's write a part 2. And so this is Live Like We're Dancing part 2.
Perfect.
Keep searching to know where we belong. I feel at home right here, like we're the only ones. Another day goes by. We don't wanna feel alone tonight. I want you to stay by my side. I'll stay by your side. 'Cause it's you, honey. I wanna feel like I felt it when you hold me. I wanna live like we're dancing, honey. We should love like we mean it, so hold me. I wanna live like we're dancing, young.
It's very soulful, this track.
Yeah, I think that's what Rostam heard about it, and he wanted to write some other chords over it because he felt like the melody. I mean, when me and Alex wrote this song, we did have a sort of soul. We wanted to write a soul disco dance record because always my favourite dance records are the ones with sort of Luther Vandross singing, or you know, it's the sign kind of. There was a band called Change, an Italian band, the 70s. It's actually how Luther made his career and got big in Europe, was that he recorded a lot of these disco songs. And so we listened to sort of Luther, and we listened to some other disco records, and we just kind of were inspired by that. But Rostam felt like the chords on the original didn't quite highlight that. And so I think he wrote some other chords that just really, they kind of nicely show the melody, I think. Yeah.
You are, I know you've talked in interviews in the past about your own kind of musical adventures. I mean, obviously you've come from a particular style of musical background, but I think you are something of a kind of adventurer in music. So if you sort of had to pinpoint the things that were the big, I know you've talked about a few of them now, but the biggest things that are kind of influencing you now, the people and producers that I guess are impressing you the most, who's kind of in that list of people that...
I mean, at the moment, I'm just obsessed with Rosalia. I just think she's amazing. And I love all the kind of producers that she's using. I love all the, at the moment, I've been really like listening to the music called Denbao from Dominican, and what's going on there with like electronic kind of like hip hop. It's really cool. There's this producer called Leonardo who did the chicken teriyaki beat, and it's just so like It's really infectious, sort of, I guess, like almost like ragga meets sort of, I don't know, I guess like old rhythms from that, particularly that area of kind of Caribbean, Latin sort of, culture. I like that at the moment. So I've been listening to a lot of that. Producers, I mean, I actually genuinely love what Rostam is doing. I think he's one of them who's just sort of, really pushing boundaries, a bit like the Jack Antonoffs, a bit like Ariel Reichstad. I really like Jeff Basker. He's the Don. He does a lot of stuff with, don't know how you feel about him, but he does a lot of stuff with Kanye West. Who else? Yeah, I'm...
They're kind of top of your list, really, of people that are...
Yeah. I mean, I try and sort of... I don't know. I mean, I sort of... Recently, I've just been listening to Neil Young Harvest.
Right.
So
I mean, it's a beautiful record.
I know. I really go from sort of, I've been completely obsessed with Disintegration by The Cure.
Oh, fabulous record.
That's all I've been listening to for the past 3 months, actually.
Amazing production on that record, too.
Incredible. And that last song, Untitled, so brilliant.
Yeah.
I listen to so much music. I mean, honestly, I was in Mexico recently, bought back 10, 20 records.
Right, okay.
I'm not really a snob or a purist when it comes to listening to music. Anything that kind of goes like, wow, I'm there. I'm supporting it. Yeah.
That's good, though. You should explore, musical exploration. It's never been easier either.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved music. I mean, I think I've always loved the artists that are a bit indefinable. You can't really place them anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think certainly with this record, it's a bit like that. You can't really place it.
Oh, hello.
That's my stage time.
Okay, let's move on to track 7. This is called The Dream.
This is my sort of version of, this was influenced by The Cure.
Oh, okay.
And New Order.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Had a dream last night. I was back in your room. You moved the furniture around, and your clothes were new. Why do I keep coming here? A lonely little warrior trying to pretend. My heart feels so unclear. I don't wanna make decisions based on fear. Was it a wish or a nightmare that was playing out inside my mind? I don't know how to read it. Maybe I'll see you on the other side. Soon I'll find out myself. No, I don't need no help. One thing I know, you ain't got to let me go. One thing I know, you ain't got to let me go.
Did you kind of hear? I mean, you say New Order and The Cure. Do you remember hearing those kinds of bands when you were little, or are they kind of people you've discovered later on?
No, my dad was a huge Joy Division fan.
Okay.
Like, saw them every time they played London, and even when they were Warsaw as the punk band. So sort of just introduced me to Joy Division, and then, the next phase of all with New Order. So I was very much already by my mid-teens kind of knew about the Manchester scene and.
Okay. So how did this track come about? How did they end up filtered into this?
Well, we just sort of really fancy. One night we were sort of jamming, musicians jamming, and I was playing the drums, and I started playing that beat, and Rostam came up with that bass line, and we were just kind of like, oh, this is quite cool. Recorded 20 minutes of it, and then sat back, listened to it over it, and then made a sort of loop out of it, and then wrote the song from there. But interesting enough, anyone who's interested in production, all the drums were going through tape. So all the drums you hear on this record are recorded in a very old school manner.
Kind of lo-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow. Why the decision to do it that way?
It's not actually lo-fi. It's actually really like, it's amazing how warm it is.
Okay.
And
was that the only way to do it and get the sound you wanted then, was to use
well, the whole album kind of we wanted like the drums to sound like break beats.
Okay.
So quite have that kind of squelchy kind of, old school kind of sound to them. And we felt like, oh, let's get a couple of tape machines, which is quite an expensive way of doing it. And of course there are sort of modern ways of recreating that on a laptop. But where, we thought it's quite fun to get like Joey, who was the engineer, was the tape op. That's where that word comes from, the tape operator. So was actually, right, stop, pause, make the note of the tape, cut it there, da-da-da. So we were doing like real old school
splicing.
We were doing it. I don't know. It was just sometimes these sort of things, they just help with creativity, I think. And part of the magic of working with Rostam is he's just like, sure, let's try it, So that was really fantastic. Yeah, it was great. Really great.
We're coming into the final 3 tracks on this record. And even in that 3, I feel like we're still on a bit of a musical journey here. But let's go with Keep On, which is track 8 on this record.
Can you feel my heart is calling out for you? I'm unsteady, never ready. I'm holding on, pull me through. I gotta trust it now. All I want is to feel alive in my hands. To love something you don't understand.
Feels very sort of romantic, this track, very kind of aspirational, and there's kind of a sort of hopefulness about it.
Yeah.
Not just lyrically, but musically, it feels kind of like it's in that area.
Yeah, definitely. I think this record, one thing that was very important to me, that it had this optimistic message to it. I wanted people to hear it and think, wow, all these different textures. I feel quite inspired, and so actually this song I started with a very good friend of mine called Dan Carey, who's a very sort of incredible producer, produced, God, where do you begin to describe Dan Carey? Do you know Dan? Yeah, of course. Does everyone know Dan here? No. He produced Fontaine's DC, produced the Wet Leg record, but also sort of, gosh, so many. What? I can't hear you. Black Midi, sort of, you know, he's just a very important guy of the kind of South London music scene. And we played in Kay Tempest's band. So that's where we kind of became friends. But I went round to his and I had this idea. I wanted to recreate a kind of break beat that went, and Dan was really like, oh, love it. And then he was like, so we spent the first 3 hours going, like recording like these mad vocals on the microphone, just go, and then we sort of got the beat going and da 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 da. It was really fun, and that was the sort of early bones of this song. But I wanted there to just be this like almost quite druggy, Balearic kind of break beat with a sort of shiny, ethereal vocal over the top.
Yeah, Balearic is definitely the area we're in here, isn't it?
Yeah. But then it does this mad tempo change at the end.
Yeah,
actually.
I was going to say we should turn up the end though, 'cause it's kind of different. Kate Bush maybe in the art.
Yeah, it was Ross Sam's idea actually he was like, let's have this cool breakdown. And so there's a really nice piano breakdown in the middle of that, and it goes a bit dubby. It's sort of, I got Fridman to do his version of dub, which was really funny. He was like, oh, I don't know if I can do dub, but I'll give it a go. So he kind of did his thing. But then and Rostam had this thing, let's like flip the rhythm. So I don't know technically what it goes from, a sort of straight 1, 2, 3, 4 to a triplet, is it? Kind of triplets. And then, so it's just got a nice journey to it, this song.
Yeah. This is our penultimate track. This is Friends Will Never Let You Go.
Nearly there.
Why do we feel so alone? It's driving me insane. All of this and more, but I can't ignore. Friends will never let you go. Maybe they should know. Apologies they'll accept, and that won't ever change. I finally let go. Now it's coming home. Finally, I've accepted what it can be. Only thing is that I can't do it on my own. Can't stop, won't stop, I know. Can't stop, I know. So we'll take off all our clothes and dive into the deep end.
This is definitely channeling the title of this record, isn't it? That is like euphoria in a bottle, this track, isn't it?
Yeah. I really wanted a song on this record that I wanted to dedicate to my friends. And I just felt in a happy place writing this record. And I felt like very grateful that just of all the moments, and I just wanted to sort of say thank you to them for all the support, and I'm lucky to have such great friends.
I mean, this is the sort of friendship on the dance floor kind of vibe, isn't it? Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was such a weird period 3 years ago, not being able to see your friends and also like communicating with them in such a weird way. And I don't know, just sort of came out of it all, particularly being in LA with Ross, just feeling, I think grateful is the word.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like that scene is, you hear a lot of artists kind of channeling that gratitude, don't you? Because it's so much that collective experience, isn't it? That music scene is all about that collective experience.
Yeah, totally. And I think, again, it's quite an optimistic song. Yeah.
Before we go into the last track, I know we talked a little bit about you're playing tonight at 6:00. So are we going to hear some of the new record in tonight's set? I know you still said you've got one to learn, but are we going to hear some of it tonight?
We've actually got quite a few. Oh no, have we not? A few more. Oh yeah, we do. We play. Yeah, we play quite a lot of these now because we're getting ready. The album's out next week, so I've got in stores, and then I've got a tour in November. So it's like we're starting to hopefully get to add a lot of these songs because I think it's all really interesting music to hear live as well. So
where's your tour taking you?
Um,
Do you know where? Do you need some prompting?
Emma, the UK,
All over
the
the
UK
place.
and Europe, and if we're lucky, America.
I know. I think you mentioned you've got a date in Manchester, which is
I
probably
have got a
fairly
date in
close.
Manchester. Yes,
So we should definitely mention that one. So when are you touring? November.
yes, November. November.
We're looking for confirmation. Well,
Yeah, well, you can head over to my Instagram
okay.
at Georgia UK, or you can,
Where we can find all
where
of
you
the,
can
all
find
of the
all the
details,
details,
you've forgotten.
all the nooks and crannies.
Okay.
25th of November
In Manchester,
In
right.
Manchester.
Okay, so we're into the last track now. This is So What. This is the final track of the record,
Yeah.
and we'll have a little chat about that.
Yeah, you can turn this one
So why do I try? A new reason to cry. Something's telling me, but I've got no energy. I'm feeling the pain. I've been there before now. I think never again. I'm down on the floor now. But so what? So what if it hurts? I'll still do it again. So what? If making mistakes always feels like the end, I'm always gonna give it one more try. Don't have to be a saint to get it right. So what? So what if we say we don't have to pretend? Can't even get sleep. Do I need therapy? Shouldn't have done it. Tell me something. I'm feeling the pain. I've been here before now. I think never again, but I'm down on the floor. But so what? So what if it hurts? I'll still do it again. So what? If making mistakes always feels like the end, I'm always gonna give it one more try. Don't have to be a saint to get it right. So what? So what if we say we don't have to pretend? Shouldn't have done it. Learn my lesson the hard way, but still I'm running. And I'll never be the same. I'm feeling the pain. I've been here before now. I think never again, but I'm down on the
I felt like we should hear that in full, really. It feels like a very satisfying closing track, but was it kind of written to be the end track, or did it just kind of evolve into?
Well, I actually wrote this song with a writer called Justin Parker, who wrote Video Games with Lana Del Rey and
wow.
Stay for Rihanna. So I was entering the room with like a serious songwriter. And I'd wanted to work with him for years, but he's very careful about who he works with. And Justin and I wrote this song towards the end of the lockdown, where it was just sort of, you're kind of reevaluating. So not to make this all about the lockdown, because it's not, but that was just, I sort of think of it in time frame now, BC and AC.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we always, when I played it to Rostam, we thought, yeah, let's have it as the last track, because all my last previous records, they always end on a kind of slower sort of ballady number.
Yeah.
But the thing that was so great about this song is that the chorus is, again, it's optimistic. And I just love the fact that we got away with getting a chorus in with So What. I just think it's brilliant.
Just
not to toot my own horn.
As like a nerdy Cure reference, there is a Cure song called So
Is
What.
there?
Have you heard it? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's I think it's that one that he reads off the back of a packet of I think the lyrics are off the back of a packet of flour or something.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, you can look that one up.
Wow,
There
look
you go.
that one up. Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure
Thank you.
to play the record, and please show your appreciation for Georgia.
Thank you. It's very strange, to I mean, it is what it's all about, is playing it, and you all listening, but it's very odd.
But it's nice. It's unusual to get to hear one that's not released, so it's kind of nice to be
know.
part of your like pre-release
I
party.
know. I
Here.
feel very honoured. So thank you for having me, and I appreciate it's Sunday, midday.
Yeah,
so
thanks to you all for joining us,
Yeah,
and I hope
thank
you really
you.
enjoyed it. Thanks again, Georgia.
cheers.